Can you really make an espresso with the popular AeroPress? And do attachments like Prismo or Joepresso make any difference? In this video, we will brew espresso style coffee using the AeroPress without any attachment, AeroPress with Prismo, and AeroPress with Joepresso. We will compare the workflow and taste results so you can make up your mind about these gadgets. This video is sponsored by the AeroPress Movie, a documentary film about this iconic coffee maker. When we talk about making espresso using the AeroPress, the pressure is a key element. For regular espresso from an espresso machine, the standard pressure is around 9 bars. The design and dimensions of the AeroPress don't allow for such a high pressure. Mostly, you can expect to reach about half a bar. But there are some ways AeroPress could achieve higher pressure, and that's where gadgets like Prismo and Joepresso come into play. Let's make our 3 espresso style coffees right now. We are using Brazilian coffee that's roasted for espresso. In general, the roast profile is up to you, but I think that Omni roast or medium espresso roast works better in these methods. So we are using 18 grams of Brazilian coffee. It's a very fine grind, about 20 to 22 clicks with Comandante, red clicks, so about 10 to 11 clicks with normal Comandante. Then we give it a proper stir to immerse all the coffee grounds. Don't be afraid to stir for around 20 seconds. Nice. So I'm doing the inverted method to keep all the coffee trapped together, get better and more even extraction. The immersion time is around 1 minute and 10 to 20 seconds. Be careful if you use a glass. You need a thick, strong glass, or even better is a ceramic cup, because when we apply pressure, we don't want to break it. Let's taste the coffee now. Typical Brazilian flavors, lots of chocolate, lots of hazelnut. There is a nice acidity. It's very smooth, very subtle, but there is some fruitiness, which is nice for espresso roast. Overall, when I talk about this as an espresso style beverage, it doesn't have such a creamy full body like espresso. So it's lacking a body. It's a bit thinner. The crema wasn't really produced. Flavor-wise, it's nice. It's a strong, intense coffee with a weaker body than espresso. Perhaps would be nice for coffee with milk. Prismo is an AeroPress attachment designed by Jeremy Kumpel for the US company called Fellow. It consists of 150 micron metal filter and pressure actuated valve. The valve is the key element here because it holds the coffee sealed until you press down. This prevents from leakage, so coffee is fully immersed until the very last moment before brewing. Prismo comes at fairly affordable price of $25 in the US. So the second method will be by using Fellow Prismo. It's very easy, just insert the metal filter with the logo upwards, and we're gonna brew with the standard method, but it's gonna keep all the coffee inversed because the Prismo has a release valve, so it doesn't release the coffee unless we press on it, which is quite nice, so we can use this method. We are using again 18 grams of coffee, grind a bit coarser than AeroPress. And there is easy explanation for that. We grind a bit coarser because Prismo has a metal filter, and this metal filter can release some small, very fine particles into our coffee. By grinding a bit coarser, we decrease the volume of those fines. So we have 18 grams of coffee. We're gonna start the timer and pour 65 grams of water. Stir for around 20 seconds. You don't have to go very fast, kind of like consistent speed. And now we wait. Don't put the plunger inside yet, because as soon as you create any amount of pressure, the coffee will be released. So we just want to keep it to rest for about 1 minute and 10 seconds. Then we put the plunger in and press. Now, with the AeroPress, you can usually press slower and consistent speed. But when making espresso style beverage with Prismo or AeroPress itself, you can actually try to press harder to create more resistance and slightly increase the pressure. So we insert and press immediately. So let's taste the espresso coffee from Fellow Prismo. We're gonna give it proper stir, like always. The foam is already gone, but doesn't matter. The smell is already a bit different. It's more fruitier than before. There is like a chocolate and a lot of grapes, fruity flavors. I'm curious how it will taste. There is definitely a difference. More fruitiness, more grapes. It changed quite a lot. It's more layered. The structure, the mouthfeel, it's more fuller. It's richer, but it has a little bit of muddiness. It's like when you drink French press coffee. After you finish, the tank stays covered with a bit of fines. That's because the metal filter releases some fines into the cup. The body is quite heavy. I would say it's still not that strength of the espresso style beverage, but it's a bit closer. Okay, before we try to make AeroPress Espresso with Joepresso, let's briefly talk about the sponsor of this video, which is the AeroPress Movie. It's a documentary that Aleš and Radek created in 2018. It will take you to Oslo, Norway, South Korea, USA and many more places around the world to find out the whole story behind this iconic coffee maker. The film's highlight is meeting the inventor, Mr. Alan Adler, who shares the origin story behind his invention, his favorite recipe, many early prototypes, and even talks about the attempt to build a bigger AeroPress. If you love AeroPress, you should watch the film. You can do so on Vimeo, and we created a special discount code for those of you watching this video. Entering code ESPRESSO or clicking the link below will take 25% off. And now let's get back to Joepresso. Joepresso is attachment on AeroPress that was designed in the US by espresso enthusiast Roman Rabinovich. It was launched through Kickstarter campaign back in 2020 and it promises a real espresso experience. It consists of 4 parts: the attachment ring to AeroPress, silicone O-ring, 51mm pressurized basket, and shower screen that serves as a tamper. Joepresso is more expensive and it sells for $60 in the US. So let's move to the last method, making an espresso with AeroPress and Joepresso. This time we're gonna use a bit less coffee because for our coffee we couldn't fit 18 grams into Joepresso. This might happen if the coffee is lower density and has bigger volume. We're gonna use a little funnel to help us. So this is 16 grams of coffee. And we're gonna use the dispersion screen to tamp the coffee. Keep it all together. Then clean. Insert into the basket carefully. Put the silicone inside. And now we are ready to attach the Joepresso to AeroPress. Okay, so we poured 55 grams of water. Now we are not gonna stir because all the coffee is trapped together, which is more similar to espresso preparation. So it's sitting packed together and we're gonna leave it extract for 1 minute. Then we're gonna press continuously, slowly with a constant pressure, and the coffee will be released continuously because there is pressurized basket. So let's taste the Joepresso Espresso. There is some crema on the top, but again it's quite foamy. It's not like it's not really looking like espresso crema from the machine. Okay, aroma is quite complex, fruity, maybe the most fruity from those three. And we have finally a bit different texture, much different I would say. The mouthfeel of this shot is actually quite creamy and round, much closer to real espresso. The pressurized basket really creates similar structure to espresso. The flavor-wise, there is a lot of chocolate, a lot of grapes. It's quite sweet. It gives it a bit more, I would say that the flavors much better because they complement the body. And aftertaste is medium, sweet, very espresso-like I would say. Let's sum up and look at what we think. Brewing espresso-style coffee with AeroPress is a challenge. It can produce very strong coffee, but it's not very close to espresso in my opinion. We simply don't have enough pressure and resistance to create espresso. I like to brew larger drinks like lungo or americano with AeroPress. Longer drinks had more complex flavors and better mouthfeel. Fellow Prismo has a very similar brewing process to AeroPress, but interestingly creates different flavors because metal filter releases more particles into a cup. It produced quite complex coffee with heavy mouthfeel and some grittiness which I didn't like. There was a bit more crema, but I think Prismo calls it correctly. It can produce something similar to espresso, but not espresso. So if you are about to try different type of flavors from AeroPress or prefer to save paper filters, give it a try. For me though, the coffee with Prismo and paper filter tasted better. I feel that Joepresso did the best job of producing the espresso style beverage. Still, I would not call it espresso 100%, but we got the closest from it from today's three methods. Workflow and cleaning are a bit messy and it's not really eye-catching device for me, but in terms of making something like espresso, it did pretty well. Compared to espresso from espresso machine, it had slightly lighter mouthfeel and weaker foamy crema. For those who are keen on making espresso style coffee with AeroPress and are willing to pay $60, I think that Joepresso is worth trying.